You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Mika Moody, founder and attorney at Mika Mooney Law, PLLC in New York, focusing on business, trademark, and employment law. How are you, Mika?
I'm great, Benny. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so good to it's good to virtually meet you.
Yes.
And have you on the show. We haven't featured you yet on the Lawyer Stories feeds. We'll get you up on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, most likely before this episode airs. I have reviewed your story though. So, and you start off telling us that at about 10 years old, you had a desire to be a lawyer. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I'm like one of those lawyers who has always wanted to be one, like since I'm a little kid. I remember I would like watch TV shows and like love lawyer characters. I had a babysitter who would watch soap operas and like while I was still there and there was a character that was a lawyer and I was like, oh wow, look at her in the courtroom. I'm just a little kid, right? So like
That's
like
pretty cool though.
captivated my attention.
Like a bonus to having a babysitter watching you. Like you weren't watching like some whatever, you actually caught on to the lawyers. That's pretty.
Yeah. But so then I distinctly remember being in fifth grade and we had a substitute teacher and he did a mock trial. That was like the thing we did for the day. And I was like, this is amazing. This is everything like I want to do. Goes to show you how like teachers like really impact
Sure.
lives and everything.
Yeah.
And so that just like, that seed was planted and I just stuck with it. It like never, I never wavered from it. I never questioned it. Your typical ideas of, oh, I'm not a math and science
Yep.
girl. I'm more of a, reading and writing and arguing and like all of those things that we, equate with lawyers.
Yeah.
Were my strong suits. So
Got you. So when you, I did read that about the fifth grade sub teacher.
yeah.
Do you remember like what you were doing like with the trial and like were some kids like not into it? Because those things can be very exciting, but obviously it stuck to you more.
Yeah. I remember the class, we were all really into it.
Okay.
Like,
All right.
I remember like the case was like something like funny, like who stole like the like pack of gum out of the backpack or like
Gotcha.
something like
Right.
that, where it like captured the kids' attention. I remember like, we stood up and like we like gave like an argument and
Okay.
like stuff like that. So it just I remember like the feeling of it and like really
It had an impact on you. And like,
yeah.
you don't have like a ton of dates like that in school, I guess. I mean, maybe I, but like, so that's a pretty neat thing.
Yeah.
And remember when you were, in fifth grade and
Yeah.
hopefully the substitute turned into like a tenured teacher somewhere after having
I
this
sure
big of an
hope so.
impact on a fifth grade class. So your mom, had all of her family in Japan, and was taking care of you and like the USA by herself. I think like
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting and unique. So, I mean, you could share whatever you'd like about that.
Yeah. I mean, so my dad passed away when I was young. I was 4. And so it was always just my mom and I. Like she raised me as a single mom, in New York without her family here. They were all in Japan. My dad's side of the family, most of them were in Chicago. And that's like the other layer of it is that as a child, um, I looked at my mom and I saw how hard she was working. And like, for any working parents out there, when you have like two parents in the household, it's like you divide and conquer and you have each other to support, through parenting. But my mom didn't have that. And then there's like the financial stress of raising me and
Sure.
making sure she's saving for college. Um, that contributed to also in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm a little kid. I'm going to become a lawyer and then I can take care of my mom and she's not going to have to be stressed out anymore.
Amazing.
And so that was another factor. And then wanting to make her proud too, right? I'm first generation American. Um, she didn't go to college, so I was, the first one in the family too. So it was like a big deal, like add on law
Congratulations.
school
Wow,
on
that's
that,
amazing. I mean, I think
yeah,
you hear situations like where that can go either way. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So obviously you
yeah,
took the right
yeah.
path. You had in your mind that you were going to succeed from a very young age. And so you went to Binghamton. Is that SUNY Binghamton?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I applied to some SUNYs. I mean, I went to high school. I'm born and raised in Portland, Maine, but I applied to some SUNYs. So
I
I'm not like familiar with it, but I've heard of it and like
heard
what
of it. Okay.
new system. But anyway, all right. So you go to Binghamton.
Yeah.
And your desire for law school, like, was it still there? Like, what was your undergrad? Like, what did you take for classes?
Oh my God. So Binghamton had like a made up major. It was called philosophy, politics, and law. I don't know if they still have it, but most people thought I had three majors, and I had like three different degrees, but that was their pre law, major. So I was like, that's it. This is for me. In retrospect, I think I probably should have picked a more practical major or
Yeah.
on a business degree or something like that.
Oh,
But
oh,
because I could have gone to law school, you can have any other degree, but
we don't know that, but I mean, they're kind of like, let's just take this, let's
yeah,
see if like it's the most interesting or whatnot.
yeah,
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 I get it though.
yeah. That's and yeah, I just stuck with it. And I'm like, so law school, here I come.
Right. So did you take any time off between law school and undergrad or no?
No, I was like, no time to waste. I wish I had. My mom actually said to me, like, you're graduating college, take a year off, be work at a law firm, be a paralegal. This is a big commitment, 3 years. She can afford to send me to law school. So I took out student loans. So she
Sure.
knew that it's like going to be a big financial commitment. And what a lot of times kids don't listen to their parents. My mom always she would knew best always, and I just
Yeah.
always opposite of what she told me to do. Um, so I was like, straight through, here I go.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was your law school experience like?
Um, Stressful.
Right.
It was, by that point, so I'm done partying like I did in college and like really just it's not, I felt it was much more challenging. And then it's the first time that, you know, the way that you're graded in law school, it's like you can study till you're blue in the face and like you might only get like a B or like
Oh,
a
yeah.
B. And you're like, what? If I
A
studied
lot.
that much in college, I would have gotten an A. This is like,
It's crazy.
this
Yeah.
is crazy. Yeah. So, I, s- I was always so stressed out, like studying
So,
hard and like it just, um, you know, I can look back and in retrospect and be like, oh, Mika, like it's not worth being that stressed
yeah.
out.
But like, if that's the case, what advice would you have for someone considering law school?
I think definitely have as many legal internships, jobs, experiences,
Yes.
talk to as many lawyers as you can, like in whatever opportunity you have to have some sort of legal experience, explore it. Uh, in any way, I think talking to lawyers is one of
Right.
the things anybody can do. And if you're students, like having those internships and those jobs, not just one, like multiple ones any chance you get. It is wise.
Now,
And
are you saying that because you did that, or you sort of wish you had done more of it?
so I did do that. I wish I had done more. I definitely wish I had taken a beat after college and and worked like as adult, right? Like I
Right.
graduated, not just an internship, like in a more full-time capacity, like my mom had suggested. Because you learn so much on the job, like, and then
Right.
just
Well, that and like for me, I took a year off, but I think if I had a regular, I had like, I wasn't really like a regular thing. It was just sort of like whatever. But if you had like that regular structure, I think one thing that you would learn is management. Because when I got to law school, I remember never ever looking at time the way I was looking at it when I was there. Because it was just sort of like, okay, if I need to get this memo done or the like writing piece, I have to start this at like noon to be done by like 10 at night. You know what I mean? Like that was just me. Like I looked at time much differently. So I don't know. That would have been my opinion to like go get a job, and not to you personally, but like to somebody after
right.
college. But nobody hindsight's 2020,
That
and
always
you'll never know that.
never know. Yeah, yeah. Um, it's just to me like it's like I was 22 years old. Like, yeah, of course I could take a year. Like, you
Yeah.
know. But I guess maybe just my childhood and my upbringing, maybe that obviously definitely played a
Yeah.
role in me not wanting to um, take a little extra time, So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, no.
but
You had that good momentum. So you're like,
yeah,
on, right? So Mika's very loyal. You stayed at the same job for like 14 and a half years.
yeah.
And this
Um,
job out of law school, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
so this was before launching your own firm, which we're going to get into in a minute. But tell us about being in the same attorney position for 14 and a half years and like what you were practicing and
Yeah. So it's unusual, right, for one person to have like one job for basically their entire career. Most people, move around. Obviously I don't like change. So, I was at a boutique insurance defense litigation firm. I primarily did, employment defense litigation.
okay.
Uh, so, it was in court, depositions, motions, appellate court, court of appeals, highest court in the state of New York, just everything to do with the litigation. I started out as an intern there while I was in law school, and then got a job. They offered me a job after law school, and then I just stayed. Which is unusual. And
It is.
um, yeah, so, it was the owners of the firm were wonderful. It was a very collegial environment. As I had my three children,
Mhm.
they were incredibly supportive
Nice.
with, my caseload, schedule, accommodating me so that I can have that work-life balance, and law
Yeah.
firm not notorious for that.
Yeah. So how many hours were you working at this place?
Um, so I've done every iteration of a schedule. So, I was full time, and then when I had my children, I went anywhere from like full time still to modified work schedule,
Yeah.
like leaving a little bit earlier so I can get home to have dinner with my kids,
Sure.
off every other Friday. By the time I had my third, I was part time. So like trying all different ways, when it came to that phase of life. And this is pre-COVID where like
Okay.
no one was working from home. That wasn't the norm.
Right.
So, I think that's hard to walk away from.
Yeah.
But
No, I mean, it's not, now, was it a bigger firm or like, was it family? Was it a family that owned it?
no, no, no. It was a small firm, like
Okay.
it was started by three attorneys who were lawyers at a bigger firm together and then branched
Okay.
off to start the firm.
So I mean, it sounds like a good experience. I know, like I sort of read or kind of get the idea that maybe it just sort of went a little like the wrong way? I don't like when was, but like when was the time around in that 14.5 years when you started generating like, okay, like maybe I should go out on my own?
Yeah. So it was, this is the thing. It's tough. Like I ended up in litigation, but like quickly off the bat, like way at the beginning, knew like
Uh,
this isn't for me. You know, like I don't
Wow.
want to
Okay.
exclusively be litigating. But then I was scared to change. And like, so that's the big message that I want to share with people
Sure.
is you can be scared. But it is way worse not to take any action than to take some sort of action, like make a move, right? Like take a
Right.
step, like, a lot of things in your life aren't in your control. Your career is not one of them.
Wow.
Uh,
Okay.
so it, I look back on it, I'm like, that was crazy. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it wasn't, a lot of times people aren't happy like with their employer.
Mhm.
And so they're not happy at work. They have a horrible boss or something like
Sure.
that, terrible coworkers. They're miserable. Like that I didn't have. It was the job itself
It was the
that,
content of the work, right?
yeah, right. Like I didn't want to be in court every
Yeah.
day.
Say you were like 20 years, like Pat, because you graduate, you were, I'm not like calling your age out, but you just said 22, like when you were going to
That's how
law
old I
school.
am. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. I sometimes I feel the same as I did when I was like, let's say 20.
No, we all do. Okay. So my
Like,
point is like, if you were 20 years further along in your career and say you were in like your 40s or 50s and you just hated your, but you knew you had like, or you just didn't like the content of your work anymore, but you knew maybe you're going to work like another 10 or 15 years.
mhm.
Would you have made the shift or no? Like a tough question, I
I
think.
think it's a tough question. For me, it's not, I came to a point where I had to, because it's like you hit like a rock bottom in your unhappiness and
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like, I had this, it was like a battle of my mind versus my
Sure.
body. Like my mind is like, look, this is what we know how to do. We litigate and like that's it. Okay. Like we're just gonna sit tight, like everything's good. You have a great job and like good opportunity. And but then my body was like, I can't do this anymore.
Right.
Um
Was it a
so
particular case or something? You were just like, I don't want to be doing that, or like,
no,
what's
no.
into that?
I think it was just the cumulative um whole experience of like maybe sort of being an unintended litigator. I don't know.
For 15, almost 15 years.
But yeah,
But I
like
mean, those are great skills like to have with you. And like you did all the practical stuff in law school, you said. And then, so how did you decide, like, all right, I'm going to do like business, trademark, and employment now?
yeah. So I was an employment litigator. So the employment aspect of my practice, maintaining that on the transactional side was a no-brainer. Like that was easy. Like I was comfortable with it. And so that was easy. Um, the business, which it ends up being a lot of contracts and stuff like that. As it turns out, so I do appreciate the litigation skills, right? Like in the course of litigation, I always reviewed those contracts. I deposed on the contracts. You have to assess them and report on them during the course of litigation. So now it's like on the flip, in the transactional side, like hoping like my client's never involved in a litigation with this contract. Like I view it with a lens of like down the road, there's a dispute, there's a lawsuit, and how can we make sure there aren't a ton of holes in this contract?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that skills trait translated well. Trademarks was the only thing that was completely new to me. I had zero IP experience
Okay.
or starting my firm, so it was interesting.
So what made you want to do that?
Well, I thought what else could complement like my practice? Like I felt like I wanted something else, like to kind of round it out. Because I was targeting like entrepreneurs and freelancers and solopreneurs and small businesses or agencies. And like, what do they need? So yes, lots of contracts. If they're growing and they have a team, the employment stuff comes into play. And what else? So I landed on trademarks. I also thought it might be an interesting way to be creative as a lawyer,
Okay.
like it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting. So I took a painstaking amount of time to learn it and partner up and like reach out to a bunch of experienced trademark attorneys who could essentially um, mentor me and like be a kind of go-to person to educate me and
That's amazing.
yeah, so
That's such a,
would
s-
have
such a smart thing to do.
yeah, it was great, so and I really enjoy it. Yeah.
That's where you need to be, right? Mentally, like enjoying what you're doing and the content of your work. So why is it important for you to be mission driven in your practice?
Yeah, so look, I've been practicing for a while, right? Well, I'm not gonna like say how old I am, but
I mean,
I
come on, you're like at least 18 years younger than me, right? Like maybe 20. Sorry, was that an insult? 20, 25 years younger? All right, anyway, go
yeah.
ahead.
Um, after working for so long, for the first time in my career, starting my firm, this is the happiest I've ever been in
Okay.
my life. And I think that we all spend so much time working that we should actually enjoy what we do. Like, you should love what you do. And if you don't, like, try to make a change if you can. Like, I know this is, work is how we pay bills and all of that, and earn our living, but y- it's, you know, you got to love what you do. And I want my three daughters to grow up to find some career that they really enjoy and love. And
Right.
I want to lead by example.
Right.
So um, I was unhappy for a while in my career. So it's to now be completely happy in it. I'm like, I want to tell everyone, like, love what you do and take action.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So you mentioned your three daughters. So like what advice do you have for women in particular wanting to launch their own law firm?
Oh my God. So reach out to me. I will tell you everything and anything that I did in starting my firm. Any woman out there thinking about it, I like reach out to me. I will tell you everything I did and everything I looked into. Um, I think if it's something that's in your mind, explore it. It's not something I ever thought I would do. Like I very much in my head was like, okay, I'm going to, be an associate at a firm and then one day I'll be a partner at a firm. Like just a very like typical like trajectory for a lawyer.
Okay.
I never considered like being a business owner. Like that's not something that crossed my mind. I
Right.
think I literally had like an Elle Woods moment of, I think I will start my own law firm today.
That's
Like I just woke up
that's
one
awesome.
day and that's what I decided to do.
Yeah, what's it been like, the business aspect of it?
Yeah. It's been it's been a lot of fun. I've only
Yeah.
ever been a lawyer. So to now learn marketing and like social media and accounting and like
Yeah.
even like that stuff, like just learning all aspects of it has been um a great experience. Sometimes stressful because it
Yep.
truly is you're wearing all the hats, right?
Right.
Like that phrase. It is true. And when I'm the only lawyer in my firm right now. So
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
it's legal work, it's me and everything else it kind of like takes a back seat. But I welcome it. I really have enjoyed learning new skills and all the things that go along with having a business.
Do you feel you were always sort of an entrepreneur at heart or no? I mean, I know you were loyal to a firm for like 14 and a half years, but I mean, was there ever a part of you that was like, oh, maybe, I think I want to do things that way, or I should have this type of business or
Yeah, now like when I like look back on it and think about it, I think so. I
Yeah.
I'm like surprised that I did it, but then now that I am doing it and I like reflect a little bit, I'm like, yeah, I think because I would always used to have like ideas in my head and like
Yeah.
uh and I remember even my mom used to say like she would love to have her own business. She grew up with like a family business where they had a hair salon
Okay.
in Japan, like in and my father was actually he was a hairdresser,
Wow.
and he did hair on Broadway, and she
Wow.
was trying to encourage him, like, let's open a salon, like, and so I think like I had like maybe some entrepreneurial like spirit or inherited something, like
Yeah.
it was there somehow, like I just didn't recognize it until now.
That's like maybe a cool way like to honor him a little bit. I don't
Yeah.
know to think about that. That's really neat. So like tell us a little more about Mika Mooney Law. Like who's seeking you out as clients?
Yeah. So obviously I'm a business trademark employment attorney for female founders. I'm specifically focused on uplifting women and protecting women in their business ventures. And obviously, being a woman myself and a mom to three daughters, that's a lot of where that stems from. It's close to my heart. And also, like, litigation is still to this day a very male dominated area of law. So it just kind of feels, and that's not to say I don't have male clients because I do. I have,
Yeah, sure.
but really want women to feel like they have an attorney that they can turn to, that they have legal protection and a legal partner as they, you know, explore their ventures.
Yeah. No, that's great. And how long have you been out on your own now?
So August will be 2 years.
Wow.
So it
Congrats.
hasn't even been that long. It feels like I've been doing it forever, but the time flying.
Great.
And yeah, I do actually have a newfound appreciation, for starting a law firm. Like I tell everyone, at a minimum, you need a laptop and malpractice insurance,
Yeah. That's it.
as opposed to like,
That's it.
I, I know someone who started a pediatric dentist office and building out a space and the equipment
Yeah.
and everything. And
Yeah.
so that's something that, if you want to be really lean in your startup of a firm, you
Yeah.
can take.
Yeah. Totally. That's good advice. So what's your favorite part about it? Like being your own boss and running your own.
Oh my gosh. I really love the client connection that I have. A lot of my clients,
Yeah.
like, I feel so invested in their businesses
That's
and
great.
seeing them succeed. And like that to me, sometimes like I'm more excited in my client's trademark register than like,
Yeah.
or these things. I'm like, you have this great contract now, like you're set. So it really is nice to have play my small role in helping my clients with their businesses, and it it feels meaningful to me. So
Yeah.
the be-
Do you think it'd be like difficult to go back to work at like a firm with a boss and like all that at this
I'm
point?
never going back.
And never going back. Not that I'm not saying, but that's I can get that. Like it's hard to, once you
It's hard to
yeah,
imagine. I mean,
yeah,
I did tell myself, like, okay, well, what do I have to lose? I, if it didn't work out, I'd go get another lawyer job there. I live outside Manhattan, like,
yeah.
there's, like, it's, and, but luckily, I don't think that's going to be the case.
No, no, never. So, um, tell us, like, give us some hints about how to build your clientele as a new law firm owner and like how you do it. I know we were talking about networking, but
Yeah.
tell me more about networking. I'm really interested in that networking.
Yeah, honestly, like, so when I started, I didn't take any clients with me, right? Like I'm going from a litigation firm to now doing transactional work. So I
Yep.
was like, I don't have any clients. And I'm like, is
Right.
anyone going to hire me? I was like, where am I going to find anyone? I'm like, well, we'll see. And you know, I do a lot of networking. I think there's something to be said about just meeting people. Like nobody's going to find you under a rock, right? Like you have to put yourself out there. And I used to think, oh no, like I'm not salesy. That's so awkward. Like I'm not going to do that. Like
Yep.
that's cool. And then I realized it's, it's not about being salesy. It's just about, you know, um, just meeting people and having like a normal conversation, an authentic conversation and making connection and it not to get something, not to get business. But that inevitably comes with it, right? Because you would have met one person, they might not need your services now, but their friend does. And then
Right.
they go to
Right.
their friend and then you do work for their friend. And then 6 months later, they need you, or, it's just kind of that spreading
Yep.
um, web kind of meeting people. And it's also fun, right? Like you just
Yeah.
hear so many different stories of the things that people are doing, the paths they've taken. You just learn so much and like
Yeah. Yep.
really it's such a big world.
And I think you really like the creative piece of it too. Like
Yeah.
that's something that sort of drives you with. Well, I mean, this is just what I'm
Yeah.
guessing. It's more like you get to hear these businesses and people's ideas and help them like cement them
Yeah.
and sort of thing. Is that
Yeah.
piece of
I
it?
enjoy it.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I just enjoy meeting people. Like I think it's a lot of fun. So a lot of networking. Um Yeah, like I said, it's like you just have to put yourself out there. So,
Yeah.
I think the more you, the business development side is a job in and of itself. Like
Right. Totally.
it's a lot of time. So, um, but the more you can do, like it's great to just really put yourself out there. And I think you start to see as the time pass, right? Like, so I'm coming up on year two. Um, a lot of people I worked with last year, like lawyers, it's always like a lot of referrals and things like that. But
Good.
like those people have referred me to other people, and business comes in that way. So
That's
yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
you got to be diversified too. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
No, for sure. So Mika, you posted an article on LinkedIn about a week ago, called "Why Your Business Needs a Legal Department," like quotes. I think
yeah.
it was a quote. So you have like a lot of helpful tips. I love the branding on it. It looked really, really nice.
Right.
So like, why is it important for business to have a trusted attorney like by their side, like as they go?
Well, I think a lot of times, businesses, especially when they're starting out, like if they don't have a lawyer to go to, like that's when there might be some missteps or they don't know what they don't know. And
Sure.
they have like a trusted counsel that they can call up or somebody on the side, like a go-to person. They can avoid a lot of legal headache, right? Like they might not know, oh, I need this clause in my contract or this, particular employment law applies to my business and my staff. And if they don't have someone, most likely they're going to find out because they're going to end up in some situation and then
Right.
be like, oh,
Mika,
yeah,
how are you?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. Makes
So,
sense.
yeah.
So where do you see Mika Moody Law in 5 years?
I don't know. To be honest. I I right now I'm in a place where I am trying to think of there's beauty to being solo, like a simplicity to being solo. There's also limitations to it, right? You quickly realize, okay, I'm one person
Right.
and I can only do so much. And so with that comes, okay, like in order to grow this, like I have to have people. Like
Right.
so that's kind of, I'm at a fork in the road. I don't know which direction I'll go in. So that's a TBD.
I hear you. Well, look, I will tell you this, like, if you ever see anybody on the Lawyer Stories platform or any of the brands that we work with, I'm happy to make warm introductions to anybody for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
appreciate
so
it.
that's something I would be glad to do. I like doing that. So,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, our pleasure. So, Mika, is there anything else that you wanted to share today? Like, did we leave anything out?
No, I think I covered it all for the most part.
Good, good.
Think of anything, but I just love what you do. Like enjoying what you do, and that's my main takeaway. Like or giveaway today that I
Yeah,
wanted.
love what you do. Everybody's
What
got to
you
love
do.
what you do. Yeah,
It. I know it might sound trite, but it's so important. You know.
no, I think that's, yeah, well, I know all about that sort of needing to love what you do. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So thank you for that. And, if there anything, anything else, we're good. I don't want to, no,
No, I think we're good.
awesome.
I
Well,
think we're good. Thank you so much for
thank
having
you.
me.
And stay right there.
Fun. Okay.
Thank you everybody for tuning in. Mika, awesome to chat and learn your story. Mika Mooney Law, everybody. And again, thanks for tuning in wherever you are in the world today. Enjoy yourselves. Cheers.